Sensitivity is not a problem. It is your signal. I felt called to really come in today and speak to my sensitive and spicy women. That's what I like to call us because I am one as well. And really speak to this because this has been such a part of my journey. And I see so many women, whether it's in groups or conversations or all the different spaces that I'm in, of how sensitivity really feels like a burden, like it's a problem, like it's that there's something wrong with me, etc. And so whether you identify yourself or you resonate with the term being sensitive, highly sensitive, or maybe you don't know that term at all and you just know that you are highly aware, perceptive, and emotionally attuned, right? You pick up on these cues, these things, where it often results in you feeling drained or exhausted or like you've absorbed or taken on things that maybe aren't yours, right? Things that like how you're not feeling a certain way and then all of a sudden you are, or right, you may just realize like I'm intuitive, right? These are all a lot of different terms that can be describing the same thing. And in my journey, right, I first heard of that term 5 or 6 years ago. And as I'm sitting here making this video, I think of a friend who I've had conversations with this about. And I remember telling her at one point, I would never want to be talking about this, or it was something that I would just never be sharing about. And I'm kind of, chuckling now because here I am talking about this publicly. And she may actually even be watching this. And if you are, hopefully you'll get a little laugh from that as well. And you'll probably remember that conversation. And right, but it's been a journey because when I first heard the word sensitivity or really started, right, I had something to explain what I was experiencing. I started right looking into it, researching it, finding places where people were talking about this. And this was probably 5-ish years ago. And everything that I was coming across was it just seemed very negative. It felt very heavy. It felt very, coming from a place of like, just that it was like almost like feeling like you're stuck in this or that it's a problem, right? Again, it's a burden. And I think one, that was because that was probably the place I was coming in from. So it was a match for that. And that's something I'll speak to more in detail later. But I I just knew like when I was reading that and getting that information, it was like there's more to this, right? This can't be it. And I had this little knowing of continuing, right? Like continue diving into that. Like don't stop there because the answers that I was getting and kind of the even solutions that people were talking about just didn't feel right. It felt very much still like this is just how it's going to be, or a lot of right kind of the looking outside of ourselves, whether it was kind of blaming or um, just not really being able to have a solution for how can I live a very full, happy, thriving life doing my work and um, all of the different aspects and not feel drained, right? And over this journey, what I've realized, right, is that this is a skill, this is attunement, and it needs training, it needs refinement, and it needs space. And um, yeah, and with that, it part of what, even to tap into these things as more of a talent, a skill, or a gift, that we have to know how to work with it. And we also have to be able to face all of the stuff, all of the things that are like covering it up, which is why it's like um, it feels like a problem is like the gift, the goodness is what's underneath, right? And as a therapist for the last 10 years, spending just shy of 2 decades in mental and behavioral health, I've got, the science expertise from the scientific lens and from the healing trauma and being a somatic practitioner, all of these things, knowing how to work on the things that we need to uncover, right? And so it requires us to understand, have the awareness and use that awareness to recognize. the role of our mind, which I spoke to in just one of my last videos, was a lot about how our mind works, but also how our body is responding. And so, right, as someone who's sensitive, also if you're into human design, often projectors resonate with this. But anybody who's highly intuitive, they're they're taking on they can be absorbing or taking on things from their environment and amplifying that. And that is showing in likely their reaction when they don't have the training to use that um, as the intelligence that it is, as the gift that it is, um, to use that to be useful or valuable in that environment or for yourself, or maybe, right, recognizing like maybe that's not the environment for you, right? And so that's where I say it is the signal because it is the communication, whether it can be our body communicating or our intuition, our inner guidance, our inner knowing communicating. Where when there's so much noise, which we know just right in our world and in all the different places, there's so much noise. But even within our mind, right, there's so much noise, and so that is where really the uncovering the unprogramming comes in of recognizing what are the patterns and loops and habits and all of those things that go into it that are not allowing me to move beyond this, that are not allowing me to go deeper, to really recognize what my sensitivity is, but what it's there for and how it can be harnessed, how it can be used. And this is a journey that I am on and still on, right? And so I'm in the process of a deeper layer of really refining and honing in on how to um, use these as skills to not only enjoy my life more, but right to even become um, a better, just to be able to really hold people in their healing, but also in their expansion, right? And to be able to do that, you've got to be able to do that for yourself. As I know a lot of you who would be watching are also, right, you're also healers, or you are in some type of helping or health and wellness field, or you may be a spiritual mentor. Like there's all these different areas that you might be working in, but the one commonality, right, is that you likely have these. You're experiencing this yourself, and you're going to be able to use that in the work that you're doing with the clients that you serve. And if you're not, right, you're still going to be would be using this in your family, in your relationships, just in your life, or the work that you do that may be in a totally different industry, where it's um, and let me keep myself on track here, is what I'm practicing is just really genuinely and authentically sharing what is wanting to come through and what's wanting to come up as I become more comfortable talking about these topics. And yeah, and so we got to be able to do that for ourselves, and then that we can help others do that. And so, as I was mentioning, I'm in a deeper kind of refinement process of this where I can look back on the journey over the last 5 years of when I first kind of recognized these things about myself, and then, right, all of the phases throughout of just really being able to own that about myself and really how I view that and how that is shaping how I interact in my everyday life. And I know even now going into a lot of the spaces and groups that I'm in, this is something that there's so many of you that need someone to be talking about this and be giving a different angle, in that you don't have to stay in a space that feels so heavy, that feels right. If you're experiencing something that feels heavy, that feels constricting, right, even thinking about it, or right, that is a signal, that is some communication why it's feeling that way. And right, perhaps it may be that, right, that is one, that's a sign of misalignment. And so it may be that that environment or that setting or whatever it is maybe not really aligned or resonant with you at this point, and you're needing to make a change, right? It can also be, this is where some of our stuff can come up, right? Of even, right, we want to analyze it to death or make it, mean something or all, trying to figure out what that is, but our body is giving us some information. And so, right, when things feel very constricting or heavy, right, that is giving us a message, right? Whereas when they feel very light and they're expansive and joyful and like those types of and even we don't even have to bring the joyfulness into it. Just even the lightness, the that feeling is giving you that message. And a lot of people are not, because of the noise, because of the unprogramming that still needs to be done, we're not recognizing that message for what it is. Whereas the expansive is the yes, and the heavy, the constricting is the no, right? And so I've seen a lot of people, especially in the therapy industry, but in a lot of places, like I was saying, all the different helping fields that this is being like we're trying to make it mean something, or like we want to blame it on like the other person or the setting or the experience, rather than really understanding that, oh, this isn't aligned, or there's something more here for me that's trying to communicate with me, and we're missing that message because we're not trusting our own signal, our own guidance, our body that's telling us that. Or right, our mind is trying to make up all these reasons for it, right? And when we're not able to really honor that or hear that as the message, that's when we go into like, well, it's that person, right? Or that, that just wasn't a fit. And that might not make sense. I was thinking of a specific example, but like we try to um just like rationalize it while staying in the same environment or staying in the same thing. And I know that I've had my fair share of this, and what so that's why I really want to share, so other people know this is one of your superpowers. This is one of your best attributes, and it needs training and it needs refinement for it to be so. Otherwise, it absolutely will become problematic in your life, and you will start noticing the effects, in one or multiple places of your life. And so, um, yeah, I just feel that it's really important to share. And this is part of the work that I do with my sensitive, spicy women. And um, that spicy part is the part of you that's going to know, this doesn't quite get it. And you're going to um, keep going until, right, you're able to work through this, versus just kind of coming to the conclusion like it must just be me, or this is just what I have to deal with. And that's what I think so many people are doing, and they're drowning and they're not happy. And really, this is for anyone, but especially if we are guiding and leading other people, it is imperative. It's our responsibility, but it's also, yeah, it's like our duty, but it's also like our right, like it's our birthright that we are able to enjoy our life, and that we don't have to stay in places or things that aren't working for us, and we get to figure out why it's not working, right? Instead of just blaming, oh, it was just that, we continue on to create the same pattern and the same situation elsewhere. We get to figure out and give ourselves that space, give ourselves the love and respect to figure that out for ourselves, of like that life gets to be better, it gets to be easier, and it gets to feel good, right? And so, yeah, we get to practice uh, tuning into what our body is saying, and also what that inner guidance, that inner knowing, which is usually the quieter voice, if we're still exercising that and listening to it, and we're right, then the noise is the loud, the fear, the mind is louder, and so that might be soft, but there's some part of you that's a knowing. It might be the sensations and the feeling that I was talking about earlier with being light or being heavy. Those are all cues and signals for us to pay attention to. And so, yeah, I just want to invite you to um, tune into that today and see, where is it that I'm noticing these things and listening, and where is it that I'm either overlooking it or hearing it, but not yet able to really honor and honor that and listen to